All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. This is Will Bridges from 123Trade. New Zealand dollar prediction is off to a hot start. I think I'll pull it up here in a minute. I think I've already closed out somewhere around 500, a little bit over 500 pips just since last Friday's session in here. So if you guys are looking for a hot one in the first quarter, then by all means, you're going to want to pay attention. I want to make sure everybody can hear me. Let me get the questions window up here. Hope you guys are awake, having a good week. Show on the road, though, we got a lot to talk about. I think I did close out a good number of trades yesterday. I think I closed out 7 of the 7 positions that I had on the New Zealand dollar yesterday. Actually 7 of 8, excuse me. I've got 1 running that I did leave open, and let's just say I'm probably going to reload on that one. But let's go ahead and get things going. First things first, this is a risk disclaimer if you haven't seen one before. What it says is that if you put your money in the Forex, or really any market for that matter, your capital is at risk. You have to risk it to get the biscuit. There is no such thing as a guaranteed trade or a guaranteed investment. Trading and investing is all about risk management. If you have a question throughout this presentation, then please ask me in the chat box. Silence is violence. The more participation I get from you guys, the better this is going to be for you. I'm going to have fun either way. But I do want to make sure everyone's awake. Looks like we got a lot of people in the chat box already, but everybody wake up. Ben, July, Antonio, Chuck, Eric. Eric, I haven't seen you here in a while, man. Good to see things. Good. I hope you're doing all right. Yanni, John, Glenn, hope you're doing well. Veronica? I think, Veronica, you've been here a bunch of times, if I'm not mistaken. But this is going to be a fun one. We're off to an incredibly hot start, and I've got a couple things I want to show you guys today. Those of you that are new, that might be here for your first time today, you may not be fully aware of exactly what it is that 123Trade does. And we are a introducing broker first, so we help get regulated, secure brokerage. We want to help you work with somebody you can trust, so you can, forget about who you got your trading account with and just trade your money when you want, withdraw it when you want, take your profits when you want, get the leverage that you want, that type of stuff. So if you need help with the trading account, you have a family member that does anything like that, by all means, send an email to brokers@123trade.com and we can help you out. We like to provide as much guidance and mentorship as we can. We've got tons of experience. I'm talking decades throughout this team. So there is a lot you can learn. This session here is really to make sure that you understand how the charting software works, how to place a trade. And I'm going to really show you a lot of analysis in here. I want to try to teach you as much as I can throughout the process. You guys understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. We're going to talk about fundamentals in here. And actually, that's really what I want to do first. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull up the economic calendar here. And we're going to take a look-see at what happened this week. Okay, and let's take a quick gander. I'm going to go ahead and set this to this week. Apply. And we had kind of a quiet week for major announcements. Okay, all of these are on the US dollar. Okay, essentially this CPI number, this came out high. Inflation's high. That's pretty straightforward. Everybody knows inflation's high. Not a profound statement for me to make. No matter what country that you live in, you probably already know that. The US did 7.1% inflation last year. Just out of curiosity, I know some of you know this, maybe some of you don't, but inflation targets, okay? Most major governments aim for an inflation target. Okay, the US economy did a 7% inflationary gain last year. 7% is high. Does anybody know, if you could type in the chat box, what they're aiming for? What they claim to be aiming for? Anyone know what percent that they're looking for? 7 was the result. Thanks, Carrie. 2. So 3.5 times what they want, which is an incredible amount of inflation. And it's not because the economy outperformed, it's because we printed money. Okay, so they increased the supply of money. And that's what this basically means. When this comes out green, it means there's more inflation than expected. So what we might see in a scenario like that, and we'll take a look at it on the chart real quick, you might see a little bit of dip, because this means that the dollar is losing value faster. Is essentially what that means. Okay, this PPI number, this is actually, in my opinion, good that it came out lower than anticipated. But that said, if you go ahead and look at all this stuff, okay, well, this is way low. This is back into an acceptable range for the PPI, so that's actually good, my opinion. Okay, if you look at the CPI numbers, though, these are still scary high, and this is the prices that the plebes, you and me, the average person type of person, is going to pay, higher prices with the consumer price index, because we are consumers, people. So, core retail sales. Okay, if your money's worth less, you're probably going to buy less. And retail sales are down. A lot of that is also because, well, we just had Christmas last month, and people typically go into debt to be nice to their family. We had Hanukkah as holiday season. I mean, there's all sorts of holidays all over the world. I don't want to just say Christmas, because that's not true. But the reality is that there are a lot of holidays at the end of the year, and, well, people spend money and they buy gifts. Because I think people are inherently, trying to be nice to at least somebody. So what we're looking at is a little bit of maybe a pullback in the US dollar, which would really kind of, in my opinion, push us down a little bit on our New Zealand dollar prediction. Okay, so nothing goes straight up. This is the point, people. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my charts. Okay, and we're going to look at a couple indexes here first before we get into making some trades. And I'm going to pull up my US dollar. Okay, because really, when it comes down to it, the US dollar is more or less, an indicator of what the global economy might be doing. Okay, I've got a stochastic RSI in the bottom here. I'm not sure if all of you guys are familiar with it. I know some of you are. It's a relatively popular indicator. If you don't know about it, I think it's probably one of the indicators you should know about. Okay, so we're looking at the US dollar. This is for quite some time. This is all the way back 20 years ago that we're looking at on this chart. Okay, the trend hasn't changed very many times in the past. Okay, really what we've been looking at in near term, okay, this last 5 years or so, okay, this is what we're looking at, this range. Okay, so if we've been living in this range, okay, I don't expect we necessarily are going to get below it. We've got kind of, really, this is the bullish crown when it really comes down to it. We've already broken out the top of this range. Okay, if you guys see this here, this is a breakout. Okay, and on the bottom here, we've also got a couple lows. Okay, so here's a low, and here's a slightly higher one. Okay, so what this tells me is that we might be working up the right side of our bullish crown, because that's really what this is. Okay, and our high prices are all the way up here. Okay, the US government is coming out talking about 3, maybe 4 interest rate hikes this year. Okay, so what that means to me is that they are going to be more aggressive to fight inflation here than in places like Europe, where they're not anywhere near as hawkish. Okay, hawkish, when someone says the central bank is hawkish, that really just means that they're looking to raise interest rates. And that is typically going to mean strength for whatever the currency is, because they're increasing the cost of it. That's really all raising interest is. You're raising the cost of money. Okay, so we're still on the US dollar here. And I'm going to get rid of this stuff. You guys already get the idea. I already kind of lit the cat out of the bag and told you guys I think this is a bullish crown. This is the current trend that started back in February of 2020. Or 2021, excuse me. We're above this, right? You guys are looking at the same thing as me, right? We're above this trend. So to me, that means that we're in uptrend territory. I should be looking for low points to buy. Okay, and really what that means is that, the US is potentially at a low price, may rebound. I'm going to measure how far of a low price that is with my Fibonacci tool, because really in my brain, the Fibonacci tool, a lot of people use it to uncover levels. That's what I'm using it for. But really, I want to know what an actual low price looks like. Okay, and the Fibonacci tool is designed to help you find what a low price is. Everybody says, buy low, sell high. Where are the low prices and where are the high prices? Okay, because a lot of people might be looking at this one right now and think, oh, we're at a low price. But as far as my Fibonacci range goes, okay, this is somewhat of a falling knife. If I measure it from the top, I wonder if we're at a low price. Okay, we're at the extension. So maybe this is it. Maybe there's one more wave for it to come a little bit lower. End of the day, you know, I am expecting more bullish activity on the US dollar. If we've got an inner trend line here, I want to check that out too. And we do. So there's my inner trend line. It might be time for me to gear up and trade towards this. Is this level above here unfulfilled? Because if we haven't hit it, this is where I want to rip the tape on life. And I really don't see a reason why we can't go sideways on this here for a little while longer, especially if we've been up for the last year. So if we've been up for the last year, and really we haven't made a dip much bigger than what we're looking at right now. If we measure all these dips, I'll draw the lines here so you guys can see what I'm talking about by these dips. But here's one here. That was an early one in this trend. Okay. There was another one here. Okay. Well, really, we can measure some smaller ones too if you want, but this is what I'm looking at. Okay. So these dips aren't that big. Okay. And realistically, this is the dip we've got here. Okay. So all things considered, doesn't really matter what I think. It matters what I can, well, afford to risk. So now that I've figured out, I think that the US dollar might be going back up. I'm going to assume that the world economy might make a little bit of a rebound throughout this month. And also on my stochastic RSI, you know, this is showing me that we're getting towards oversold territory, because basically these two lines here are the 80. If you get above 80, that's what you would consider overbought. If you get below this 20 here, that's what you might consider oversold, which means low price. Okay, that's essentially what that means for this indicator. That doesn't mean that is gospel. That's just what the indicator is measuring. Oversold, overbought. Okay, so let's keep on moving here. Let's get to something we can actually trade. Okay, and you know, first things first, let's go to the GBPNZD. I think there might be a good opportunity on this one. And really, this is one of my favorites. Okay, so we've got a lot of analysis on here already. I'm going to clear this stuff out. Actually going to get rid of this stochastic RSI. This thing is working down on our daily chart here, but we did just make a little bit of a resurgence. I think I called a high here. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I'm not going to take it off the chart. I know some of you like it. I like indicators, but really, I don't necessarily like looking at them. I want to crunch this thing down. I want to look at all the information. Okay, there's my favorite tool. You guys are going to hear this from me a lot. Be the line, the box, because there's two types of trading that I know about. There's hundreds of indicators, but there are two types of trading that I know about, and one of them is trend trading. The other one is range. Okay, so here's a trend, okay, that started a long time ago, okay, and that's kind of where we are. That doesn't give me a trade idea yet. It does kind of show me we could be coming up to test this line here. Okay, I'm going to draw this line on the top and the bottom. Okay, because I want to know, well, what has this thing been doing most of the time for the last 20 years? Okay, most of the time it's been going down, because my trend on the bottom and the top are both down. Okay, I still have an inner trend. This thing might have made a little bit of a turn. Okay, just to put things in perspective, that's what this is about. You look at a lot of information to get things into perspective. Okay, we made a little bit of a turn. We got a little bit of an inner trend line here that existed here. Okay, and then we made another little turn here. Okay, so if you want to ignore the previous, you know, I guess just if you only want to look at the last 6 years, this is what our trend has been. Okay, that's what we're looking at. Okay, so this thing is poised to do something, but really I can't make a decision on trading right now. If we zoom in here, okay, I'm right in the middle of no man's land on this trade, so I don't have a way to make a decision yet. So I'm going to zoom in. Okay, that's why I would go to a lower time frame, because I can't make a decision on the higher one. Okay, so now I'm going to zoom in here a little bit more, get this a little centered for you guys. Now I want to figure out, okay, where might I be able to make a decision, and why might now be a good time? Well, one reason a lot of people are going to see a lot of different things on the chart. Okay, so I'm going to try to simplify this. Okay, I'm going to just pull my box tool. Okay, here's a big range right here. Okay, I want to get something that's relatively close to my current market price. Actually, I want to find out if my current market price is impactful. Okay, so here's our current market price. Let's pull this thing back. Okay, and really this is the price that we're at right now is really where the market tested when the referendum votes were coming out. That's right over here. Okay, that's it. I mean, this is really where the pound fell like a rock. Okay, 4 years ago, when everybody in the UK decided to vote to leave the European Union, and then the #1 Google search the following day was, what happens if we leave the European Union? So really interesting situation here. My opinion is that we've got lots of places the market has turned around before at the top and the bottom of my box. Okay, so here's one, here's another. Okay, this is a price pocket right here. There's another price pocket right here. Okay, there's another one. Well, I guess we'll have to zoom in really to get a better look at that one, but that's really what I'm looking at on the top. It's the same reason why I decided to sell it last week. Okay, so I'm probably going to decide to sell it again this week, especially if it just came up a little bit for me. And I'm probably going to try to sell it all the way to the bottom of this box if I can. That's really far away. We're talking like over 1,000 pips. It may not even go all the way to the bottom. Who knows? It could come a heck of a lot lower. It could come down to 179, 180. That's even farther away. You're talking a couple thousand pips. So let's come up to our day chart. Okay, we're just going to keep zooming in. Okay, and this is this move over here, these two red candles. We just capitalized on that just to show you guys how it worked out. This is our history. Okay, these are the trades that, you know, I think these are from the 7th. Okay, if you look at these from the, open time, 1/7 last week. Okay, so during the session, we opened a few of these. A couple of them, I guess I added a position at some point because it did dig against me on the pound New Zealand, but we got 115 pips on one of these trades, and it looks like 78 on the other. Okay, so roughly, 190, 193 pips, something like that, on just this pair, okay, in the last week, selling. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the well again, and I want to figure out where I should get in. And right now what I'm looking at, I've already decided I want to be a seller on the higher time frame, so I don't need all this garbage on my chart, making it confusing for me where I want to get in. Okay, so now I already decided I want to sell. Okay, I missed the Fibonacci here. Hold on. That's what I wanted. And we've already come up and hit our 618. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and measure how much risk I'm taking if I decide to get into this, because it doesn't matter what I think. It only matters what I can, well, really protect, and how much I have to expose myself to make this decision right now. Okay, if I've got to risk my entire account, or the opportunity to make money in my per my analysis is, and my strategy, if I don't think it can get as far down, I don't want to sell. Okay, but this looks like better than a 2-to-1. I'm going to go ahead and measure my risk real quick. I'm looking at something like 84 pips to try to capture 159. Sounds like a party to me. So I'm going to come over here, my order window. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and, well, I've been risking, for this account size, okay, just to keep things in perspective. I'm going to open this in my live account also here in a second. But I've got two of them going here, and they're actually named the same thing. That's going to make it really hard for me to decide which one. Hold on, let's fix that. Manage accounts. Live, let's see. We're going to disconnect the live one, I think, so that I can do that. I'll come back and do that here in a second. Well, I've already got it open. Let's just do it now. Let's see. Here we go. Edit. Wow, I don't know what the password is, though. This is going to be interesting. Wow, that's really frustrating that I can't edit that like that. Either way, whatever. I'll just come back. I'll change it here in a second. Actually, the other option is I just turn it on, and I'll leave this. My default should be the one that pops up with my trade window first. Okay, so, well, let's just say if I try to place a trade that's too big, it won't let me. Yeah, wrong account or password. I screwed that up for everybody. All right, I'm going to come back to that later. Now I've only got one account attached here. 80 pips. I've been risking something like 250 So this particular trade, I can go a little heavier on. I'm gonna do 0.5. Okay, if I want to keep it same rough risk, I've made anywhere in the winning trades from anywhere from 42 to 585. So, risking something like, I don't know, 400 is not a big deal. It would be smaller than all of my wins. And really, I'm expecting this to be able to mature in a week. Okay, so we're talking about 80, call it 85. I'm gonna look for 155. I'm gonna be a little bit more conservative than what I planned because I like to be. Okay, so now this trade is active. I don't have to do anything else on this pound New Zealand. And if I like the opportunity on the pound New Zealand because we're at a high price in the range, and last week it worked out for me on Friday, and realistically, I don't have any reason to believe that the world economy is falling to pieces because, well, we had some pretty decent news this week. Inflation is not as crazy as it has been. The Federal Reserve, excuse me, not the American government, because the Federal Reserve is not part of the government. People don't know that. Well, some do, some don't. But really, we're also at a high price in our RSI here. I feel good about this one. So I'm going to go to EURNZD. And it really doesn't matter, if I'm right all the time, as long as I can afford the risk. Okay, that's the important part that people have a tendency to forget about. It doesn't matter if you're right all the time if you don't have to be. Okay, so if I trade in such a way that I only have to win 3 out of 10 to be profitable, that's what I mean when I say I don't have to win. Okay, and I don't have to be right all the time. Those of you that are placing trades that you think, oh, if I win this trade, I'm going to triple my account, or that's a trade you have to win, because if you lose, you're probably going to blow out your account. And I don't want to have to care about any of that on any of these decisions that I make. Okay, so this is the EURNZD. We'll go to the all-time frame. I'll do this whole thing for you guys again. And just to take a look at this here. Okay, this is a little bit different looking than what we just looked at, but I'm going to do the same thing. Here's my line on the top. Okay, and I'm going to work down from the high time frame to the low one because, well, that's how I'm going to zoom in. If I can make a decision on this time frame, I don't care about what's on the lower time frame. Okay, so these look like downtrends. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, since I can't make a decision with either of my lines because they're too far away, I want to zoom in and I want to find something a little bit more specific for myself to use as a point of reference. Okay, so I'm already going to be biased to the south. Okay, so I already decided that on the high time frame. And really on this time frame, if I come in here and I look at this, here's our inner trend line. Okay, we're a little bit above it. We're kind of flirting with disaster right now in this trend line. So not necessarily the method I would want to use. Okay, I might want to be a little bit more simple about something like this. Okay, so what is the trend here? Okay, that's really the part you need to understand is what is the trend? What has the trend been? Okay, so if I want to look at this, I want to do it from both sides. Okay, there's another trend line here. We're flirting with disaster there too. Okay, so just to give you guys an idea, this is really something that kind of looking at the same thing on both sides. We've kind of broken out on both sides of this. So we're in sideways territory. The market's trying to make a decision. Okay, I'm going to back out of here. No matter what this decision is, it's probably going to be big. Okay, if it breaks out to the top, it's going to go a heck of a long way. At least I would expect it to. Okay, if it breaks out to the bottom, there's a lot of room below. There's a lot of lower prices down here. Okay, this is way far below where we are right now. You're talking thousands of pips. Okay, there are lots of other prices above that, levels of support that haven't been hit quite some time, that are far away. There's the S2 is 1,500 pips away from here. Okay, so if I think the European economy might struggle, and it might versus the rest of the world if they enforce vaccine mandates harder than everybody else, and really that just takes people from that want to participate in the economy out of participating in certain things. Doesn't matter how you feel about the legislation, if you think it's the right idea or not, that's really just what it would do. Because if you're not allowed to go buy things at the store, then you're not going to go buy things at the store. It's really that straightforward. And the other thing is that we're getting lower highs and lower lows. Here's a high. Okay, here's a lower one. Oop, hold on. Need a lock tool on here. Here's a lower one. Here's another even lower one. Here's a lower one here. And, some might argue that we've got 2 to the right and 2 to the left on this high right here. Okay, so all those things being considered, this thing is making higher highs, higher lows, and I'm going to assume that it can still do that. Okay, even if it doesn't make a lower low here and it makes a, well, let's just say an equivalent low. If we test S1, that's 700 pips away. Okay, so if this thing moves sideways in a trend that's been down since 2020, then I get to win. Hypothetically, that's really what this is all about. I just want to figure out where my opportunity is. Cool thing about this is we're seeing lots of resistance. You know, I used to call these fuzzy elbows, okay? But it doesn't look like the market wants to break this price up here, okay? When I'm talking about the fuzzy elbows thing, I'm talking about this right here, okay? So we've got lots of, you know, high wicks kind of forming this curve here. Okay, so what I'm thinking is happening is that it's going to come back down, and very likely, let's get rid of all this other stuff on here, so you don't need this stuff anymore. Okay, more than likely, it's going to come down and test my demand zone below. Okay, this is my demand zone. We had lots of prices in here. People wanted to buy more than they wanted to sell the last time we got there. Okay, so I'm probably going to try to get out of Dodge once we get down to that price, but in the meantime, I want to measure where we're at. Okay, and we've talked about a couple of different trading strategies so far, and really they're just trend and range. Okay, so I'm going to show you a range trade on this one. And the reason why is because I believe that's the best way to manage my risk. Because that's really what I'm trying to do, no matter what my strategy is, no matter what I'm looking at. Okay, I want to manage my risk, and it doesn't make sense for me to, well, try to protect myself with a price that hasn't been hit since September of last year. Okay, so if we don't get over a price that hasn't been hit since September of last year, we could very easily get down to these prices that got, well, really crushed in November. Okay, so really, I don't see any reason why not. I've also got, looks like we're moving down from the high side of my stochastic RSI. So this thing could come down for several days, is really what this looks like to me. And this distance that we're looking at to this green line below, talking about 376 pips. And I got to risk about half of that, a little bit less than half of that, to try and capture it. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. Okay, I'm going to come over here, EURNZD. It's 175 pip risk. And I'm going to look for, we'll call it 360. We'll go for a straight up 2 to 1 before we even get to the price that I'm looking for in this demand zone down here. Okay, because I mentioned the demand zone. Okay, just to give you guys an idea, there is also a supply zone. Okay, that's what this is, where lots of people, you know, paid these prices, and then the market sold off. Okay, so the last time we broke out of this, last time we were in this range, it broke south. And that's really what I'm looking at. We're trying to get in this range. I'm getting my fuzzy elbows I talked about. This formation here that happened, it looks like a couple of weeks ago, actually just before Christmas. This is a dark cloud cover. We've got lots of sideways movement here. There's no reason why this thing can't come down a little bit. Okay, and it doesn't really matter. If I'm wrong this week, oh well. Oh well. Okay, trade it small enough so that you don't have to care. And to put this in perspective, okay, I'm going to click sell here so we can get in. And I can help you guys understand really how I would go about picking this. I wanted to be able to do this in my live account this morning, but I apparently lost my password. I just switched from, I had an IG account that I was trading live in here a couple of weeks ago. It's been a really big pain in the butt for me to switch to Oanda. But I like their FIFO rules better, so that's why I'm here. If you guys have questions about that, send an email, brokers@123trade.com, and we can talk about it. But if you're trading an account with, say, less than $2,000, something like that, you might look at something like a 0.01. Okay, this is a $17.50 risk with a 0.01. Okay, so that's, you know, 1% of your account if you've got over $1,000 in your account. Okay, so not a huge trade, okay, in my opinion. But if you are trading a smaller account, some people might come down and they might look at a lower time frame, even like this 1 hour, and then instead of taking the broader trade that I just showed there, because you can't necessarily risk 175 pips or $17 on a decision Some people have, you know, a couple $100 in their account. Really, I was going to show you guys with a $500 account. This might be more appropriate trade size for something like that. And the reason why is because I don't have to risk as many pips. I'm really looking for the same type of move. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 highs that I'd have to breach to get to this stop loss level. And really, that risk amount, you're talking about 45 pips, so a lot more manageable. And when you come down here, you're looking for, you know, 90 pips. So still almost a 2-to-1 trade, and something that could really finish by the end of the day today or Sunday. So lots of options. Okay, you don't necessarily have to take the bigger positions. If you want to try to trade them smaller, you can do that. You don't have to take any of them. But the point is that you control the amount of money you risk at any given time yourself. Okay, it doesn't matter what I tell you. If I think up or down, it doesn't matter what I think. Okay, it matters if you can manage the risk. If you are comfortable with losing a trade before you get in, because if you're not going to wait to get into profit. if the market dips on your standard lot position, you know, in your $1,000 account, 30 pips, and you're down $300, are you going to panic? The answer is probably. So don't do that to yourself. You are the key master and the gatekeeper to your success. Let's keep on moving here, people. We've already done the EURNZD. We've already looked at the pound NZD. I've actually got an active one going on the NZDCHF. So let's take a look at that one. One reason why I might be taking a beating on this one right now is for the same reason I mentioned before. Okay, vaccine passport stuff. Okay, Omicron fear. Okay, the more fear that there is in a market in general, doesn't matter what it's from. Okay, fear is going to create a situation where people are going to try to shelter their funds. Okay, they don't want to, well, lose it all in a downturn. Okay, so really what that means to me is, you know, this might move a little bit slower on our NZD Swiss than it is in, say, like maybe our NZDJPY, because we've already made some money on that one. And our other pairs that are more risk on, you know, this is just gonna be a little bit different. Okay, so if Europe is not performing well, a lot of times, well, let's just say euros are going to move into becoming pounds. Okay, or euros are going to move into becoming francs. Okay, so that's really just a fact. They're kind of a hedge. Okay, if you guys understand what I mean by a hedge. One of the things that the Swiss are famous for are banks. They have currencies from every major economy, and they actually report how much of them they're holding on a weekly basis. Okay, so this is kind of what I'm looking at here, trend-wise, on my NZD Swiss. Okay, I work for a company called 123Trade. This looks like a 1. Okay, this looks like a 2, and my 3-wave is that. Okay, so that being the case, and this kind of really fits well into what my strategy would be. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull a Fibonacci on here too, just to show you guys that too. Okay, you guys see that 618 level that we're sitting at right now? A lot of traders like the 618. Okay, and the reason why is because you can manage your risk properly from this level. Okay, that's why in my opinion there's going to be a lot of turnarounds here, because even if I don't get out of the range and I try to trade this like a sideways trend, which would be conservative, I put my stop loss outside of the range, I put my limit price inside of the range. Okay, this is all within range. Okay, I have more opportunity to make money than lose if I set my stop limit. I've got a bigger reward potential than risk potential if I stay in the range. Okay, that's very straightforward. Okay, so that's literally why this price is popular. Okay, and it's a natural thing. This ratio occurs all over the place in nature, squarely for that reason. People feel like the price is getting low because it's down more than 50%. And it just so happens people start to, you know, panic and start to buy at a similar price. This is a nature thing. Okay, so we got lots of turnarounds on the other side of where we are right now, also at this price. So the market's turned here before. Okay, and I don't get to decide where the market turns. I want to get in where it has before. Okay, you guys see all these turnarounds over here. This looks like an impactful price to me. What that means is that I'm going to go ahead and reload, because I am losing on this trade right now. If I go over to my positions, active positions. Okay, we've got a couple that we just opened here. We're pretty I guess we're up on the pound New Zealand. We're kind of down the spread on this Euro NZD. Okay, this NZD Swiss, I'm losing, but I traded this one small, and I did that on purpose last week so that I could do something like this and go 0.25. We'll do a 175 360. Why not? I'm just going to go ahead and click on buy. We're going to reload on this one. Okay. I don't want to close it. I want to buy. Okay. Let's first close your older trade. Please note, continued FIFO violations may lead to your account being locked. All right, well, maybe I'm not going to try to do that again in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up MT4 here. Philip, it's okay that you're late. I won't hold it against you. I don't know if it was you or Evan that I called out last week. Sorry, I get a lot of joy from doing things like that. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm doing, but I'm giving permission for my computer to do this right now. I think it worked. Ooh. Give me 1 second here, people. Sorry about the delay. I just want to open this trade. For some reason, well, let's just say they might have changed the FIFO rule again. Because I'm actually, you know what we can do? All I have to do is open a different trade size. So we're not going to mess with that anymore. Let's come over here. I'm going to make this a 0.26. And click buy. And that worked. All right, all I had to do is change my trade size. Sorry, you guys shouldn't have to deal with stuff like that in, well, really anywhere but the US, I think. But yeah, that's how you overcome it. You just change the lot size. Sorry, that was a little bit different with my IG account. I just switched a couple of days ago here. So I'm in, reloaded on our NZD Swiss. I'm already betting against Europe with the NZD. Let's go ahead and check out the NZDUSD. Okay. This is really one of my favorites. Okay. It also might be one of the more sideways of this group. We look at this now. Okay. So I dumped yesterday. Okay. On this particular position on the NZDUSD, I want to say we captured 117 pips. Pretty solid win. Most people be pretty happy with 117 pips. Okay, I'm going to come up to a slightly higher time frame, see if we can be more conservative, and we can. This is the 2 hour. Okay, so I'm not ready to get in yet. Okay, and the reason why is because we're not at that 618 level that I just, serenaded for the last couple of minutes on this last trade. We are in the oversold territory on my stochastic RSI. Let's go to the 4 hour time frame and see if we are also. We're in the oversold territory. I may load into this twice and just split my order because I am kind of expecting the NZD to be hot. I am expecting a rush. Okay, so if that's the case, I have a couple of different options. I don't have to get in right now, but I want to. How many of you in this room suffer from something called FOMO? Just give me a Y or an N. How many of you in here are afraid to miss out on an opportunity? This is a stupid question, I know. I know. But if you're afraid to miss out on opportunities, that's okay. You can work around that. Okay, a lot of people are going to there's really two options. You can not get in right now, and you could get in right now. That's it. You can get in or not get in, right? So, personally, I suffer from FOMO myself. I don't want to miss, if the market makes this next extension, because I believe this is an uptrend. If the market makes this next extension, it's 145 pips that I might miss. That's bigger than the last trade I just won. Buying in the same direction. Okay, so I could still be holding that position. If I just put this in perspective. So I don't want to miss out on that, but I also don't want to, risk 145 or actually try to get 145 and risk 100 or so, that's not a great trade. It's an okay trade. It's not a great trade. Okay, if I were to wait and get in at this lower price, this is much better. Okay, I would risk 70 pips to try to get 179. Pretty awesome risk reward ratio if I get in at the lower price, just okay. You know, if I do both of them and I split my order into two, that feels like, you know, mama's porridge, just right, as far as the risk reward that I want. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up two positions here, and I'm gonna open one of them right now. Okay, and really I need to make sure I keep my trades reasonable. Okay, so if I go over here to my positions, okay, I'm not going to be risking a ton. You know, we're talking about, I've been doing 0.25s and 0.5s to keep this, you know, a reasonable amount. I want the drawdown to be okay versus the size of the account. I could trade it bigger and try to flex, like I made, you know, way bigger gains than I should in this account. And, you know, some people are going to do that, but I don't want to set you guys up for failure. I want to teach you guys how risk reward actually works. So, you know, that being said, you know, I'm going to do both. Okay, I'm going to get in once right now. This is I think it's 100 pips that we're risking here right now from this price. 100, 109. So we're going to say 109 to try to get 140. Not quite a party, but something I'm interested in participating in. Okay, so my second trade that I open here, this is going to have to be a different amount. Okay, this is our, just going to go ahead and jump on the bandwagon with this right now. And now I want to set up a pending order. Okay, and my pending order is going to be a buy. So once I click pending, I click on buy, fill in this little bubble here. Okay, my stop, my limit, all that stuff I'm going to need to set. I also need to put in the rate that I want to buy. And I want to buy at 0.68 because that's a nice round number. And it also happens to be at my 618. Not sure why I'm not deleting this here. There we go. I had an unlock on or something. My stop loss from this price is much better. We already talked about this, but I'll go ahead and show it here for you guys one time. This is for just my pending order. Okay, let's measure this thing here. My stop loss, we're looking at, I'll call it 75 pips, and I'm going to try to get 175. Sounds like fun. This does sound like a party to me. Okay, so, ooh, I guess it's not going to let me do it that way. Let's just type in the stop price, 0.672. Okay, and my limit, 0.6976. Cool. Ready to go, place order, okie dokie. And now that other order is waiting in the wings for me. It may never open, may never happen. The market could just go a mile up. It could go a mile down, I don't know. But either way, I managed my risk in both directions, so I don't have to care. Okay, any more than you care about, you know, wasting $15 on a 12-pack of beer. I don't have to care about these trades. Okay, whatever it is in your brain, you know, if I'm going to trade a sandwich to get 2 sandwiches, or if I'm going to trade 1 car to get 2 cars, everybody's got a different amount of money. Figure out what makes sense, and you need to calculate how much risk you're talking about before you get into the trade. We've already done our due diligence. We've already found our narrative of what we think is happening in the world. We found the technicals to back that up. I'm following the trend. You know, it's really just about, you know, keeping things simple, though, at the end of it. It doesn't matter if you know all the other stuff we did first if you don't properly manage your risk. Okay, so let's keep on moving here, people. And let's get into the NZDCAD. I don't think we've traded this one yet. This one could be interesting, and it is. So let's actually get a little more real estate on this chart. Okay, I'm going to go to the all time frame so you guys can get an idea of what's been happening with this one for as long as we can look at. Okay, we're a little bit towards the bottom of our stochastic RSI down here. It's been falling for a few months. Okay, let's crunch this down though. This is the 10,000 foot perspective on this. I'm going to go ahead and draw a couple of lines. Same thing I did on all the other ones. That looks like an uptrend to me. And this also looks like an uptrend to me. Okay, that's where we've been living since 2007. Okay, so this feels like an uptrend. And if we go ahead and we maybe look for a little bit more indication of when it became an uptrend or when it broke trend and started moving back up, there's one good spot right there to look at. And here's a similar pattern that we've got right here, right now. Okay, just a lot higher prices. And really what I'm looking at on both of these, just to show you guys how these played out. Okay, if we zoom into this one that happened in 2007, 2008, the end of the financial industry. At least that's what they were telling us when I was in school. Here's a low. Okay, here's a higher low on the right side of the trend line. You guys see these moving up. Okay, if we zoom in here a little bit, I'm going to move a little bit further over to the left here so I can show this a little more effectively. We've got highs on the left side of our trend line that are lower than highs on the right side. So this is what I'm talking about. This is a high right here. Okay, here's a higher one on the right side of the trend line, and then it formed a higher low on the right side. There's another low that it's higher than right there too, a couple of them. So we moved up for a long time after that, many years. Okay, so if we zoom in to today, to the last year, okay, we're kind of looking at the same thing. Okay, realistically speaking, this thing could come a little bit lower. We might test a little bit lower prices, but we're on the right side of our trend line. And I made a joke about working for 123Trade earlier. Here's a 1, here's a 2, and this is what I would expect 3 to be. Okay, not necessarily that far. I got a little bit overzealous with that, but regardless, okay, that is what I'm looking at. And really, I don't get to choose where the market turns around. I just want to try to get in at those prices. Okay, so here comes my box tool. And right now, current market price, let's just see where this is in relation to other places the market's turned. Not quite there yet. Okay, not quite there yet, but we've got lots of upward movement that happened below here. So maybe we inch down a little bit further. Who knows? Let's come down to our week. Let's zoom in and see what we got here. Okay, and I am biased to the north. We've already made that decision. Okay, with my high time frame, I'm going to be biased up. It just might not be today. Okay, so that being said, empty all this stuff out, get this thing naked for everybody so that we can figure out, what might be a reason I want to buy this. Let's see what the current market range is. Okay, so if I go ahead and pull a Fibonacci range, let's actually use the smart tool first. I'll pull from the bottom. This is the bottom. Okay, right now we just bounced off our 786 in this range. Okay, and a big reason why that might have happened, you guys have heard me talk about demand and supply. There's a demand zone right here. Okay, you guys see all the pinball machine that happened in that price really since 2018. If we go back further, there's more of it. This is a demand zone. Okay, so the market isn't necessarily married to a price. A lot of times it's going to be married to a zone, and this one's been popular for a long time. It's been support, it's been resistance. Some people might call this a pivot. It's kind of if you guys can't see it here, it's kind of like right in the middle. This is kind of the average. A lot of people talk about things regressing towards the mean. This is kind of the average that we're at right now for all of the data. Okay, so I'm buying this. Okay, and I'm going to show you guys why in a second here. Primary reason is that I can manage my risk. Okay, now we're on our day chart. We're at our 618 price with our auto fib tool. Don't you guys like how that works? We're also in the oversold territory of our stochastic RSI. This feels like a sexy place for me to go ahead and try to aim at my unfulfilled extension above here. This is my unfulfilled extension price that we didn't quite make it to. Okay, we've already broken out. We've already shown that we're bullish. We've got higher lows that we've been forming. It's come down to a very attractive price for me, especially when I can put my stop loss just outside for my strategy. This is a good place for me because I can deal with this kind of risk reward ratio. I hope you guys are into this type of risk reward ratio. What do you guys think? I haven't asked a question in way too long. I feel like I drone on sometimes, but really this is what I'm looking at. Okay, 815 pip opportunity up top. Talking about 300 to risk on the bottom. Sounds like a great position trade to me. If you want to get closer than that, then you can. There's other closer levels of support. Okay, so if you wanted to make a shorter term, there's our resistance up top. Here's our support below. Okay, some people might reel this thing in, myself included. Okay, I might do that with you guys right now. This is really kind of calling a bottom if I do it from there. If I come a little bit lower below S2, okay, that's really as close as I want to get to this, at least on our day chart that we're looking at, because I plan on staying in this trade until sometime next week. Okay, I'm not getting out of this today. I'm thinking Wednesday, Thursday. You know, there's really no way for me to know exactly. I could stay in it for the next couple of months, okay? But we haven't necessarily confirmed this upward movement yet. We're really just at a, well, I'm using 2 or 3 other strategies to do this right now, but really it's just a range. I'm explaining one other strategy. It's a range, okay? I'm explaining one other strategy 3 different ways. So I want to try to hammer this home. But let's go ahead and measure this here. And I'm going to leave my stop loss outside of the range just so I don't have to worry about it as much, because we can just trade it smaller. Okay, it's not a crazy thing in my opinion in the world of investing. If you risked at 0.01 here, you're talking about $30. So in my opinion, not something anybody should be sweating about. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and click this buy button here. We're going to risk 300. Okay, and there's a lot more above, but I'm not going to aim all the way to the top. Okay, actually I need to be in market orders for this. This would be 300. It's just to aim for 6. Okay, it's not going to do that next week. I can tell you right now, this thing moves probably 30 pips a day. You know, I'd be really thrilled if we get 100. Okay, so what a lot of people might do on this, rather than what I'm going to do here, because I might just let this run, because if I go on vacation or something happens next week or whatever, I don't have to close this out. I don't care. I think it's going to go up for months, you know, but I might take profit next week just to show profit so you guys can feel better about that. And I might do it at a level like one of these that I'm about to show you, okay, at another place where the market has turned around in the past. Okay, so I may just dump, because you can't go broke taking a profit. And so far that seems to be a good strategy with this move, because we've won everything that we've closed. The only thing that we're losing are the ones we just opened. Okay, and really this NZD Swiss. Okay, the ones we just opened are, I mean, I'm down the spread. If you guys are sweating about paying the spread cost, trade a smaller lot size. So that being said, let's keep on moving here. I've got time to do a couple more. If you guys have anything particular you want to see other than the NZD, okay, I've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positions on this NZD. We don't necessarily need to go all in on all those, but let's check out gold. I think everybody wants to know where gold is. And I think we should probably know where gold is, just so we can understand, well, what might happen with the rest of the world economy later. This is really a measure of how much fear there is in the world, how much gold people are buying. So if I go to the month time frame, okay, we are in oversold territory. Like, whoa, this thing does look like it could make a resurgence upward. Really hard to say. You know, we're on the high time frame. The formation that's happening up here, you know, a lot of people might call something like this a pennant. There's a lot of different ways to draw a pennant, okay, but this is really what I'm looking at right now, and I'm kind of waiting to see if this thing is going to break out to the north or to the south, because really one of 2 things is going to happen, because the market can only go up and down. You guys know that, right? So there, if we could break out north, probably come back, test, maybe go to much higher prices, okay, or we could break out south, maybe test, fall to much lower prices. Okay, we haven't broken out of our pennant yet. Okay, so right now I think it may be a sell. Who knows? Who knows? We're in no man's land. Okay, so this is very much undecided territory. So if it is something that you were looking to place a trade on, undecided to me means sideways. Okay, in my brain, if there is enough uncertainty for you to not be able to pick up or down, then that means you can trade either direction. It's just in my experience. Okay, and looking at this here, okay, I've already kind of showed you guys, this is in the middle of a pennant. Okay, I already kind of mentioned this is sideways, hard to make a decision. This is the strategy that I would use right here, this box. Okay, end of story. Nothing else to look for, because from a risk reward standpoint, it's there. We're at the top right now. So my stop loss, I'd want to have above maybe these prices up here at 1832. As far as something like my, well, current market price, there we are. And since we're at the top of this box and nobody can figure up or down because, well, we've been bottling up into this pennant for the last several weeks, then I'm just going to keep trading sideways because seems to be a similar number of buyers and sellers. And, well, that just makes sense to me. And that seems to be what it's been doing. I'll try to get out at a slightly more conservative price, but 1800 feels like a good one to me because it's a round number that the market has turned around at before. Okay, and psychologically, 1800 sounds good to a lot of people, especially if it's $23 cheaper at that price. Okay, so I'm not going to really predict anything further either way at this point. Really I'm kind of taking a wait and see here. So I would really just be looking shorter term. Right now, I think sideways. Okay, silver probably similar. Bitcoin is another thing that people have a tendency to want to ask me about all the time. So let's go ahead and check this out. Bitcoin looks like it made a little bit of a bump earlier today. Does look like we could see some resurgence on Bitcoin, at least on the low time frame. This does look like an uptrend to me. What do you guys think? You guys think uptrend or downtrend? At least in this forever trend time frame. We're talking about the last, I don't know, since 2013, 9 years, we'll call it. 9 years. All right. Uptrend, you guys, I'm with you. It is down the last quarter, though, the last 3 months. Okay, so it is currently a downtrend. I don't know if today's the day. We're going to come down to the week. Okay, because I don't really have all this data over here that existed before the market got up to 30,000. In my opinion, is irrelevant. Okay, at this point, it could very easily come back down. We have a demand zone down here. If Bitcoin ever gets to, this price down here, 10,000, 13,000 range, you better believe a lot of people are going to buy it. I mean, we're really far away. $30,000. The only reason why people wouldn't buy there is if it was completely illegal and there was no way to do it. Otherwise, how many of you in this room are buying Bitcoin if it gets back down to 12,000? Just a quick show of hands. Y or an N? Yeah, right? Right? Because, people are talking about $1 million Bitcoin, all sorts of crazier calls than that. So if I know that, right now our stochastic RSI looks like it's in oversold territory. Let's go ahead and pull a Fibonacci on here, see what we got. Just to measure, are we at a relative low price? That's what the Fib tool is, okay? Because realistically, this thing made a higher high right up here versus this one over on the left, okay? We've got a low here, we've got a higher one, okay? This is an even higher one, not really this one. Not so much as most recent. I think we're kind of even, okay, with our other low over here on the left. So, really wouldn't be crazy surprising for us to bounce off our slightly lower 786 level at 38,000. Okay, we're at 43,000 right now. This thing's crazy volatile. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete this. We're going to come down to a lower time frame and zoom in because I can't make a decision on a higher time frame. If I can make a decision on a higher time frame, I don't care about looking at the lower time frame. It's noise. The further you get down on your time frame, the more noise that you're going to experience looking at. Okay, so right now, okay, our trend is down. Okay, and here's the reason why I say that. This is back to November. Okay, this has been our trend since November, and we're below it. Okay, I'm not ready to really become a buyer here until we hit some price support. Okay, and really, I'll go ahead and show that here. Smart support. Okay, the only support we've got really close is this one that we just formed. Okay, we've got lots of it. You guys see this overlap? We've got 3 support prices down here. If I come to a higher time frame, maybe something like my weekly, okay, that price support is really where I want to become a buyer. Okay, if we get back down to 30,000, okay, a lot of you are probably thinking buy too at that price. So I think that we're still in sell territory for Bitcoin, especially if they go more bullish on, well, the USD. Okay, if the Fed is going to raise the price of the dollar because they have the authority to do that and they can have interest and people aren't allowed to borrow in Bitcoin, so that dynamic doesn't exist, then I'm going to bet on the dollar because it's made sense for most of the last year. So That said, I'm still going to be bearish on Bitcoin. As far as the pound JPY, we can do that real quick before we get out of here. Everybody loves this one. Well, not everybody. Some people have been absolutely murdered by this one before. I think I took a year or so off of trading it sometime in, 2015. So that might have been in 2016. I can't remember. There was a period of time I didn't trade the yen at all. But this one moves a lot. Okay, so obviously I did go back to trading it because if it moves, it can make money. That's really what this game is all about. If it doesn't move, then you're wasting your time. Okay, but let's go ahead and draw a couple lines here. Okay, here's our downstroke. Okay, we're a little bit above that. Really, it's the struggle bus since we've broken this trend line. So that might be an indication that this thing could continue its downtrend or move sideways, my opinion. Okay, and the reason why that's my opinion is also because our trend on the bottom here for a very long time has been down. Okay, so some might look at this and think, oh, this looks like a doorstop here. We might be breaking out going to the north a very long way, and we could. Okay, we very well could. Okay, so what I want to do is come down to a lower time frame because I can't make a decision right now. Okay, GBPJPY, this one could be real, all sorts of fuzzy. What exactly? I lost with you. Oh yeah, I understand. I'm with you, Chuck. Sorry, there was a little bit of a delay on when that came through. But let's go ahead and take a closer look. We're on the weekly chart. Okay, so tons of movement here. What's our trend been lately? Okay, this is since 2020, so the last couple of years. Here's our trend line. Okay, and we broke it recently. We immediately moved back up. Okay, this looks like this is ugly. Okay, if I can't figure out up or down, we've broken up and down trends. Testing it right now. To me, if it's confusing, I'm looking up and down both sides so that I can figure out that it's confusing. That's really the point. Okay, so now that I know that it's confusing, this is kind of the same thing I showed you guys in the last one, I think, here on, maybe on gold, actually. If I come to my day chart, okay, I'm going to look for sideways movement. That's going to be my strategy. Okay, so in this type of situation, this is what I would be looking for. I'm going to stay in the range. I'm going to put my stop loss outside of the range. Okay, I'm not going to be super cavalier with how far I want things to go. Go ahead and put a blue line on here for where my current market price is. And really, that's all she wrote. Okay, so really, this thing could come up a lot. Okay, the other option that you have here, if you want to be a breakout trader, this is a range trade that I got. Okay, it doesn't matter really what you believe. Okay, it matters if you can protect the risk. So this might be the trade that you want. Some people are going to look at this the other way. They're going to say that this has been an uptrend for a long time. And I'm a trend trader, and I only want to trade trends, and I never want to veer away from this one strategy. And that might be you. Okay, trend traders. Okay, you may be looking to hit this extension above before we come down. So trend traders are going to look at this and say, hey, so this is why I'm trying to show you guys this, because it doesn't matter what you think. Okay, I know I really just kind of might have blown up everybody's world here, but really, this could be where it's going. And I may not want to get in yet. This may be something that I want to get a stop loss. My stop loss might be below here, and I may want to just jump into this thing at a slightly lower price. Actually, let's get rid of these rays that are on here. Okay, so I may want to jump in there, try to trade the extension as a buyer, and this would be a pending order situation for this one. But that might be what you're looking for on this. Okay, either way, I think it's going to come down a little bit. So I don't know, heck, you could do both of these trades really in reality. Hard to say what's going to happen first. It could just drive up to our green price and then fall, and both of these trades lose. But that's why you trade small and something that you can afford, because, well, I don't have a crystal ball. I have measuring tools, and I have a strategy. I measure. It's been going up more than it hasn't been, and that's really what it is. Okay, so I can trade against that trend. I can trade towards it. I'm going to be less aggressive against it than I am going to be with it. End of the day, this is the bigger opportunity if you're more patient. This might be what I do, what I would actually do. Okay, so all those things said, we are out of time here, folks. If you haven't already, and you want me to keep doing these trading sessions, okay, and I say this in here every week, but it's true every week. I have a lot of things. There's 2 meetings I skipped this morning to do this trading session. If you haven't given us a review, you like these sessions, okay, you want to keep getting these for free from me, I like doing them, okay, then please hit me with a 5-star review and you will keep seeing me in here, okay. That's really what this is. I'm trying to do this for you guys, okay. I'm not here to sell you guys a bunch of stuff. This is really about I'm trying to show you guys what trading is all about. I'm not trying to sugarcoat in here, tell you guys, hey, look, you're going to become a billionaire tomorrow. You know, you won't see any pictures of me in a rented, private jet. Like I don't know if you guys have ever seen Quantum Code, all these other ridiculous, like, people that are trying to get you to trade binary options and become a billionaire in a week. That stuff doesn't exist. I want to help you guys understand what trading investing is all about. It's about building wealth, people. And other than that, it's about doing whatever the heck you want while the market does your work. That said, it's Friday. The weekend is here, people. I'm excited about it. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Happy trading. Enjoy your weekend. And if you can't be good, then be good at it. Take care, folks.